everyone, welcome to Jessistories. Today we have a very special guest, Natalie, which I always have trouble saying your last name.
Naudus. Naudus, yeah.
Naudus, okay, said it correctly. Yay. If you're new here, thanks for being here. This is an inclusive space, so everyone is welcome. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, and help the algorithm out by leaving a comment below. And I'm gonna let Natalie introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Natalie. I am an audiobook narrator of over 500 titles, and I have my debut novel, which came out last year, being re-released on May 20th, and it's called Gay the Pray Away. Pray Away.
What inspired you to write Gay the Pray Away?
You're not the first person to mix that name up. Yeah, I grew up extremely conservative Christian, and as someone who records a lot of queer fiction, I hadn't come across a book that kind of examined the religious trauma experience of growing up religious as a queer person, and I wanted to write about kind of my own childhood, but fictionalized so it's not too personal. Yeah, so it's kind of about a girl coming out to herself and falling in love for the first time and how that changes her world and the choices she has to make.
I love that you highlight in the book the library.
Mm.
That's a key storyline. What inspired you to kind of put that in as a huge source of getting out or recognition of, hey, something's wrong in what
Yeah.
I'm doing?
Libraries have been really important and special for me. Growing up, it was one of the few places that had access to media that wasn't heavily curated. The conservative homeschooling cult that I grew up in, my parents were not supposed to give me any kind of media, let me read books or watch anything that hadn't been curated by the authorities in this Christian homeschooling cult. So the library was one of the few places where I could read stuff that wasn't specifically extremely conservative Christian. And I really enjoyed that freedom. And I also thought about when I was writing this, how when I grew up, I was so ready to change my worldview, but a lot of my family and friends were not. And I think that growing up reading a lot kept my brain more flexible and ready for new ideas in a way that other people's brains weren't, who were growing up in this very sheltered, curated box. So I think libraries are really important, and having access to different perspectives is so good for our brains and helps us be ready to be flexible and grow.
Fully agree with that. I actually have experience of being in a cult too that is very anti-LGBTQAA, but actually
Yeah.
forces people to change.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I read your book actually as a reference for the memoir I'm writing, just to see how you did
Oh.
yours.
I tried to write a memoir for a bit, but it was too hard to know what to share personally, so I ended up writing fiction. But good for you. Do it.
But it's good because you can't tell. Well, it seems like, at least to me, from a reader point of view, it seems like some parts are true, some parts are
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Just by the description of your characters, which, by the way, I love the art and the new art too.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I've been really lucky with cover artists. I love both of them.
And I fully agree with what you said with libraries and different perspectives. That's really important, especially now, and understanding where people are coming from versus keeping ideologies that are old and outdated. That's the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Tell me about your cult experience. Can I ask you while we're
Yeah, absolutely. Twin Flames universe. So I was in the docu-series Escaping Twin Flames, only for a short
Oh, okay.
portion. So I was told I was a male in a woman's body. That was what led to me leaving them in 2020. I joined them when they were first starting up in 2016.
Wow.
They are still running right now. And 16, I guess 16 plus people Canada covered a month ago them and actually interviewed the leaders, Jeff and Shalia. But there has been transitions. A lot of them were in the same group I was in that was told they were
Wow.
males at the time. So the 16 plus people were in my group. I know for a fact in my own experience that was pressure because I was pressured to cut my hair,
Mm.
change my pronouns, and they also forced changing my pronouns. So even when I said
Oh.
no, she, her, not he, him, they
Yeah.
refused to follow that. And they have Catholic Christian backgrounds. And I actually on this channel interviewed someone was part of, who's queer, MAGA cult, the Christian National whatever. I didn't
Mm.
understand it. I learned from her everything, but she was in a cult and it was very similar to Twin Flames universe, at least the way they use God to say you're this, and if you don't
Mm.
listen to this, then you're choosing hell.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ultimately, me leaving was technically choosing hell.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks. I actually really like it.
Yeah, at least we're nice over here, so.
It's actually better, but I don't know the best way of explaining Twin Flames universe. That's why I'm writing a big portion of it in my memoir.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hadn't found a book that was queer, exactly like you said. So when yours,
Yeah.
well, actually, it was because of Rebecca Thorne. When I saw her do a picture of your book, I went, I have to buy it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I bought it and read it within, because I'm a slow reader, but I read it in a week, which is
Mm.
fast for me. But yeah, yours is the first book that's queer and memoir-ish, since I know there's certain parts that are true.
Yeah, yeah. It's been really fulfilling to connect with people who have had similar experiences because it does feel like to me, it's like I'm a freak. Nobody else experienced this. So to be able to find so many people who are like, me too, has been really validating for sure.
That's good. Yeah, yeah, I felt that way too, because for when I write, I have to find references, and I wanted to have a queer reference and not just white straight people, because that's
Mm.
mainly all cult wise that's out there.
It's a
So
lot of it. Yeah.
yeah, so thankfully you wrote your book. Oh, there is a question I have. Do you think it's common for queer people to join cults or to be raised in one?
I really don't know. I think that hearing from so many people who grew up in different Christian denominations, who their experiences really resonate with my book, raises an interesting question about like, what is the definition of a cult? Because even if they weren't in like certified cults, a lot of the ideas, the verbiage, the sense of control and following a leader is similar even if it wasn't in a bona fide cult like you and I were in. So I think it just raises some interesting questions about like American Christian nationalism and how cultish it is, even if it doesn't always get labeled as a cult, if that makes sense.
Does make sense. Well, actually, due to the MAGA movement, it's officially been labeled a cult. So
Mm,
it is now official. Like
okay.
Dr. Lalich, who I interviewed on this channel, she is an expert in cults and was
Mm,
in a cult herself and queer, actually. She's
mm,
finally writing her memoir, but she's like 70s queer or 60s. She's way far back, way, way, way.
okay.
But
Okay.
she said that, yes, it's a cult, just like she
Mm,
gave the yes for Twin Flames Universe being a cult. And even
mm,
though people don't really listen to experts anymore, but she does have
yeah.
definitions of what a cult is. So leader and then following, but you can also have a one-on-one cults, so it can be
Mm,
an abusive one-on-one relationship cults. So
mm,
like I can't think of her name, I always forget her name, the person that killed her mom, that person was on a one-on-one cult.
okay.
Yeah, so the definition has broadened, and there's more people like Dr. Coco, I don't know how to say her last name. She does coercive control, and
Mm,
she's gone more in depth in studying that, and she actually has high statistics now and what that looks like.
mm,
So there are people, but they're women, and because women are minority, no one hears about this. And I
mm,
interviewed her on this channel too, and she brought up coercive control, what that looks like, and all the definitions you need to get it in law, since Australia already has that in law, at least in an abusive relationship. I wish America would have it in law so we wouldn't have our current problem right now.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. And then, ooh, what do you think draws people to cults?
I don't know because I was raised in it. I didn't like choose to go to it. But I think in the IBLP Quiverful movement that I was raised in, parents were promised that this was a way to like guarantee that your kids would turn out good, whatever that means. And I think that that was really attractive to a lot of people. Clearly, I mean, a lot of people were in IBLP in its heyday. I think that people were really attracted to that idea of like, we promise if you do these things, your kids are going to be great and you're going to have a great relationship and God's going to be happy with you and he's going to make you rich. Like the promise of all those things felt like great in a world that's scary and lacks guarantees. Hearing that, I think, was attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. That actually kind of sounds similar to Twin Flames Universe, a guarantee of your lover. So there
Mm,
you go. Guaranteed.
mm.
You don't have to answer this one. I just wrote it out of curiosity, but what parts of and by the way, you'll get to see this and tell me what you want edited out or not. What parts of your story are true and which parts are fiction? You don't have to answer it. I can skip it too.
I would say that the setting is very much drawn from my childhood, but all of the things, the plot points are not true. Like the family setup is not exactly mine. The people are not exactly people that I knew, but the setting and the kinds of people and the kinds of things that they're saying and doing and thinking are pulled from my experiences.
That makes sense. And I actually really, really like your other main character, at least how you describe her. That was one of my favorites when you introduced her in the story in the
Mm,
church. That was really
mm,
cool. And to see kind of the traditional, little bit stereotype at the same time not. of, I guess, different backgrounds, that religion. I don't know how to say that correctly.
Yeah, different people who are attracted to that group at the time.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
really like that character that you added in there, that escape, that idea in the story. I'm trying not to
Yeah.
say it so people go buy it and read it.
Yeah.
And then the very important one, which we might be ending a little earlier, it looks like, where can people find you and where can they also find your book?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and TikTok and Threads as at Natalie Naudus. Naudus is my last name. And you can pre-order Gay the Pray Away everywhere. Bookshop.org. It is on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and everything. And it comes out May 20th, which
Ooh,
is soon.
very soon. And actually, all the links will be down in the description below. And I'll try to find the pre-order links too down in the description below.
Audiobook is available too, and I recorded my own audiobook naturally.
Only makes sense, which I like hearing your voice when you do your recordings, which is
Thank
fun to
you.
see. If anyone follows you on social media, they'll get to hear your voice and how you record. So thanks so much for being here and embrace your truth. Tell your story. I have a story to tell. You have a story to tell. Until next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Peace.